Hey there. Hey there, good people. Today is Friday. Happy Friday. As promised, today is New Managers 102. And I'm trying to do this quickly because I should have been out the house at least 30, 40, 50 minutes ago. So, really quickly, let's talk. Let me get my notes up. So, the topic for today is going to be setting goals. So if you watched the first video, and if you haven't yet watched the first video, I think this one will be a little bit better, but the first one leads up into this one. So it's going to be setting goals. If you don't know me, my name's Olivia. I have this channel and a blog called The Young Black Professional. I am currently a CFO at a nonprofit, and I also run my own tax and accounting business and advisory business. So if anything that I'm saying right now or throughout this video sounds interesting to you, please like and subscribe. I would love to have you. I'm so thankful to all of you that have done that already or that are yet to do it. So thank you. I appreciate you. All right. So setting goals. Managers 102. New Managers 102. I want you to think of 3 umbrellas for goal setting. So the first one is going to be the department umbrella. So some of this may not apply to you if you only manage one person or a small team, and some of it may not apply to you if you are managing an entire department full of 40, 50 people, who knows. But take the bits that do apply to you or that you find helpful, or if you want, watch the whole video. I think some of it can apply for each and every level. Okay, so the first again is departmental. The department is usually comprised of one team or multiple teams, and they are either in one revenue stream, one program overall, or mainly focus on one specific thing overall in the organization. The next is a team. Now, a team can be an entire department or program, or it can be a subset of a department or a larger program. And then finally, there's you, the leader. So I want you to think of it tiered that way. So you, team, department, or you, team, department, however you want to think about it. The way I'm going to frame this is very small, because when you're just starting out as a manager or a leader, it's going to be difficult to try and focus on 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 different things at once. So focus on 2 and 3 things. So I think I wrote it down as a 2-3-1 method. And it's 2-3-1 because it's hard to do anything well when you're just trying to do too much, let alone being new to managing, being new to leading, and trying to excel at everything. No, we're focusing very small. So for you, the independent person, the leader, I want you to think, and we'll get in depth, of 2 things you want to accomplish. And in this framework, I want you to think 1 short term, 1 long term. And then I want you to also think of 1 skill that you would like to hone. I'll hopefully have timestamps. Hopefully I have time to put timestamps in. If I don't, I'll put them in later. But we'll get more into that as I go in depth for each goal or each subset. The next is team. So what are 3 things you want the team to accomplish? I think it's much easier to give a team of people multiple things. Again, we're not getting into 5 plus category, but just 3 things. And they can be short term, they can be long term, they can be centered around a project, they can be centered around your fiscal or calendar year, whatever works for your organization. But what are 3 things that the team can accomplish? And finally, if you are overseeing a department, what is 1 thing that the department can accomplish? And it can be short term, it can be long term, whatever the case may be. You want to really focus on a few key things, because that is really where you can thrive and excel. So it's important to set goals overall to begin with, because directionless teams go nowhere fast. And if you see me looking down, I wrote my notes out on my iPad on GoodNotes. So directionless teams go nowhere fast. It's easier to prioritize. It's easier to say no to things and figure out what can be done better, what needs to be taken away when you have set goals. And when you have set goals, you're also much better able to plan. So if you have a goal, let's say it's around just growing the team, you can then set up a plan for how you're going to hire over the next 3 to 6 months, for example. And it also lets the team know overall what we're doing, because what are we actually doing here half the time. If we don't have goals, if we don't have a direction, the whole team is just kind of going to be working siloed, and that's not what we want. What we want is a collaborative team effort to move forward, doing whatever it is that you're doing if you are a leader leading a team of people. It also gives people clear expectations. So in the first episode, we talked about setting goals with your direct reports. I want you to remember that when you're setting team or departmental goals, that also sets expectations and stages for them. So if you're setting team goals, maybe it's helpful for them as direct reports or individual contributors, as they're called oftentimes in tech, because they're individually contributing to something. They're not managing or supervising. But it helps them to then create their goals if they have goals to collaborate more or to contribute to the team in some way, if there are goals outside of themselves. So let's start at the departmental level, and then we'll work our way all the way back to you. You. So full circle. You know what I mean. You got me. We see each other. So first, do you have access to feedback or any type of critiques from managers, from colleagues, from peers? I said we were going to start at the department level. I'm trying not to edit this too much, so I made a mistake. We're going to start with you and then come back. That's what I mean by full circle. So this is starting with the skill that you want to hone. So if you have access to feedback or critiques from peers, from managers, it can be past or current, you'll want to use that to come up with 2 or 3 skills, and then ask your manager for help in figuring out what that one skill you want to hone is. And the one skill that you want to hone is going to be one that gets you from good or okay to exceptional. I don't want you to focus on your weaknesses so much, because the chances are in a short period of time, and short period of time being a year or 6 months, because I think in review cycles, I'm thinking about you and your reviews, you're probably not going to get a very weak skill to exceptional. But you do have a lot of potential to get something that's okay or good to exceptional. And the reason for that is because once you start moving up the corporate ladder, it's those exceptional skills that set you apart from other people who might be up for promotion, who might be up for a job or a role somewhere else or a project. And those are the skills that will set you apart. And we want those skills to be high and exceptional instead of just trying to get weaknesses up to exceptional level, because that's a long, hard road. At least if you know what you're good at, what you're even okay at in some instances, once you start checking those and getting those up to exceptional level, gold. Gold, I tell you. All right. If you don't have access to feedback, then what do you do? So starting with you, what do you think excuse me, what do you think your strengths and weaknesses are? What have you noticed over time? What do friends and family tell you you're good at? And now sometimes friends and family can be a little too generous. So really do some introspective work here. And once you have those strengths and weaknesses, let's filter out the weaknesses and focus on some of those strengths. What strength are you the least proficient in? Or what do you feel you can really move the needle on and get better at in this role right now that you're in? That's the skill you're going to hone. And the reason why I started this whole talk with the skill first is because the skill isn't necessarily tied to the goals that you'll set for the department or the team or even for yourself. It's really something that you can work on supplementary to those goals that you'll set. So let's move on to the department level. So if you are managing a department, it can be extremely overwhelming, especially if you just kind of came into a departmental lead role and didn't have that middle or that sub-team manager role first. So it can be daunting, but stick with me. I got you. We're here together. I got you. So if you are managing a department, does the organization overall have goals or a strategic plan? Now, if the answer first is no, we'll go over no first. Are there internal challenges that the department is facing? Now, if the answer is yes, then you'll need to figure out what the challenges are if you don't already know. So they can be something like revenue, for example, systems and procedures, organizational structure that just doesn't fit for what the department's trying to do or what you think the department's trying to do. So you're going to need to assess where the department is right now. Take inventory of what you do well as a department and figure out what's kind of lacking and start to formulate a plan from there, or figure out what it is that needs to be fixed. So whatever it is that needs to be fixed, can it reasonably be improved in 6 months to a year? If the answer is no, you might have to leave that alone for a minute. If the answer is yes, that's your one. That's your one thing that the department can achieve. If there are no struggles, let's say you fell into some shit and you just got gold. Your department is already doing well. You have to figure out how to manage the wellness if you've inherited it from someone else, or how that department can grow and potentially do better or become more optimized. Now, if you are optimizing and making things more efficient or changing processes and changing the way that things are done, this is most important. How will people's roles change? I don't want to, and I could never in good faith encourage somebody to optimize to the moon or optimize to the sun, too close to the sun. And now we have people whose roles are eliminated and we have to lay people off. No. Think about this when you are in the process of trying to make things better, quicker, faster, more user-friendly, whatever the case may be. Think about how people's roles are going to change and how maybe their job will change. Maybe you can shift them to working on different things. Maybe they can oversee the way that a new system is run. But try to make sure that you have the forethought of how people's roles will change, because one of the hardest parts of leadership or management is realizing that either somebody is not doing well, because at least I genuinely care about people's well-being and their own career progression, and somebody who's going to have to be let go, especially if that layoff is due to you doing your job of making things better. So remember, how can you make things better for the whole team? Most of the team, or at least let's say maybe 99% of the team. And if you can't make things better for 99% of the team, how can you coach them not out? I don't like when we coach people out. I don't like that, saying that or doing that. But how can we coach people to a new role? How can we coach them so that they are better suited to some of the new systems in place? Whatever it is, just remember that you are also holding some people's livelihoods in the decisions that you make if you are that high up where you're managing an entire department. So, if nobody tells you this, you won't know. And I'm telling you now so that you know. Now, if your organization does have a strategic plan or set goals, that's great. You leverage those to create your departmental goal. The one. Again, you're a new manager. One thing. So if your organization wants to grow, for example, can your department increase revenue? Can it cut costs? If your organization wants to increase staffing, what is your departmental hiring standard? Because you don't just want to increase hiring of just anybody. I don't want anybody just off the street. I want somebody who's good for the role. So what are the hiring standards that you're going to set? And maybe that needs to be a whole departmental discussion. Maybe that needs to be with each team within the department. It's just really understanding what your organization needs, what your department needs, and speaking to people to get that information. Key. So next, let's move on to teams. If you manage a team, does the department have goals or short-term and long-term plans? If you are not within a department, again, it kind of goes back, does the organization have goals? So if the answer is yes or no, we're going to default back to the department pieces or components that I just mentioned. However, what I want you to do, if you have a team, especially if it's a small team, and you're a new manager, this is so ideal. You're going to assess what the team does well and what's working for them. Key point here. By talking to them. You're not just going to rely on your own brain because you're not there yet. And I always believe in talking to the people that are doing the work, because you might be doing the work too, but you're also relying on a team to help you get the work done. So you kind of need to talk to them in order to figure out what's working, what's not working. Don't be mad at me. I don't like people either that much, but you got to talk to people. So you're going to understand the entire workflow of your team. If you are reviewing the work of the team that you are leading, your direct reports, how does that work flow through each of them to get to you? So let's say it's a structure where there is a junior level person, a senior level person, and you are the manager. So the junior level person does the work first, does the things. The senior level person kind of does an in-depth review, helps the junior learn and grow. And then you come in and do a second level review. This is just an example. This is not how all organizations work by a long shot. But you come in, do second review. How do you know how this all started? Because you might be critiquing things from the very beginning that the junior did, that the senior already said this isn't working for whatever reason. Talk to your people, figure out what the junior does. And you don't have to know every little detail, but at least know at a high level what everybody's doing and how that all contributes to you getting whatever the thing it is that you normally do done. If you run payroll, know all of the steps until employee gets check in hand. If you create products, know all of the steps from, even if it doesn't involve your team directly, just knowing the step of product idea, inception of the prototype, just understanding how pieces flow together is going to help you think at a higher level. And when I say higher level, I really mean just kind of taking that step back. Whenever we're talking about high level thinking, it doesn't mean that you're smarter than everybody by any sense of the word. It just means taking that third person look at things and seeing how things work from space, let's say. I hope this is a good analogy. So when you're in a plane, right, you see the tops of houses and you see like bodies of water, you see big buildings, and they look tiny, right? That's the high level thought. That's the high level thought process, rather. So you're seeing things at a distance and everything will look very small. Everything seems so insignificant. Not saying that it is, but just think with me on this analogy. You're seeing things and everything just looks so small. When you're thinking at a high level or you're viewing something from a high level, all of the pieces look very small. And you've got to figure out how those pieces fit together. Yes, they are small, but once you're seeing things as smaller bits and everything isn't so huge and overwhelming and like a skyscraper to you on the ground level, it's much easier to make decisions. It's much easier to understand how things work. And it's just a much better way of setting goals, creating new systems, changing things, and understanding how your organization works and how your department works and how your team works and how things should work overall in order to be the best that you all can be. So once you get that high level insight, you'll understand better how everything and everyone on the team interconnects. All right, next. That was 1. Number 2, listen to your team's feedback. Ask them what they think can be better. Systems, processes, even you, manager, what can you do better to support them? What can you do better to make the department better? Give credit where it's due. If somebody gives you an awesome idea and you start implementing it, make sure that it's known. It is their idea. It's not hard. It doesn't take anything away from you. If anything, it shows that you listen to people. Yeah, maybe they'll get a promotion over you at some point in time, but maybe they're the right person for a certain role that you are not fit for because that's just not how you see things. And that's okay. I need us all to understand when one of us wins, we all win on the team. If it's a team effort, we're all winning right now. So that was 2. Make sure you're listening to your people. Listen to their feedback. Hear what their gripes are, because their gripes will become your gripes at some point in time. And if you can fix it now at whatever level it is that they're doing the things, I promise you'll see an increase in production. You'll see an increase in efficiency and things will just get better. Why? Because when people are heard and things are changed to address those thoughts, those opinions, those feelings, people are just happier. Go freaking figure. People are happier when they're heard and things are changed. Who would have thought? Now 3, plan alone and discuss together. Now, what do I mean by that? Take all of that information that you've figured out and plan. Set some goals. Again, with a team, it's 3 things that the team can accomplish. Set those goals, those 3 things that they can accomplish, and discuss it with them. Discuss with them the feasibility of them getting those 3 things done. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, you may need to tweak it, but you may also need to push. And what do I mean when I say you may need to push? People might think that something's not possible, but you might need to be that motivator and tell them why it is. And I'm not saying you need to push on every single thing, but if your team seems doubtful and you really believe in them that they can do something, let them know. Push them and say, we are going to do this, and I promise you it will be okay. Sometimes people just need a little push because they need the right encouragement and support to get things done. And maybe they didn't have that before, but hopefully they have that now with you. All right. So that is how we get to whatever your 1 departmental goal is, 3 team goals are. And prior to that, sorry, I missed this, 1 skill that you're going to hone. So 1 skill you're going to hone, 1 departmental, what's the word I'm looking for? Accomplishment, 3 team accomplishments. So now how do we bring that back to you, to you and your goals? And I said 2 things, right? One short term, 1 long term is ideal. So you're going to create 2 goals that will help you support that 1 team and or 3 departmental goals that you set. Now, what does that look like? I'll give you an example. And the example I started out here with was increasing revenue by X amount of percent. So let's say 5%. First thing you're going to need to understand is the revenue drivers. And that can come from speaking to your manager. That can come from speaking to the team and just using, that big brain energy right here. And figuring out, in this example, that it is staff and productivity. So in the short term, how can you increase revenue? And the first way is to find better software to get the work done. Let's say you're using an antiquated or outdated system. Let's say after speaking with the staff, you now understand that they're just not using a software to its full capability. And you go on Google, you ask ChatGPT, you get some ideas on how you can be doing something better if you don't know already. And you start working at that, or you change the workflow. Again, you got to talk to people to understand how things are getting done. And sometimes if you sit down with people in one room and you're talking about workflow, you all can identify together that something doesn't make sense, or something might be done twice, 3 times over, and it could just be done once if we all communicate and collaborate and share. So in the long term, what do you do to increase revenue if you know that staff and productivity are the drivers? You can get more staff training or better staff training. How do you train up those staff to do something in a more efficient time frame? Or how do you train them up so that they can in turn help train up new staff? Or maybe there's new growth opportunities that come out of this. What can we do to get the collective better? The next is find opportunities, as I kind of mentioned or alluded to, for staff development, and maybe change the organizational structure within that team or add lead positions. So it could be that senior role that I had mentioned before, instead of somebody who's managing people per se, somebody who just knows how to look for issues in something that somebody who's more junior won't know yet, and teach them. So that's really it. But I am going to hold your hand while I say this right now. Are you ready? Are you ready? Just silent nod. It's okay not to be in control all the time and to say no in order to prioritize your team, your department, your own goals. It's okay to say no. And as long as it's a purposeful no, you will get respect, and hopefully the proof is in the pudding when you put out the final product, get that project done, or just are assessed at the end of the year, because you can't do it all. And as a new manager, I know, because I've done it, I tried to take on too much, and I really had to learn how to take things out in order to make things better. So I hope this is helpful. This is a long one. I don't have my nice, funny GIFs, however you say it, in here because I really had to record this and run, and I don't have enough lead time to edit it right now. Maybe I'll edit it later and re-upload, but thank you so much for watching. If this was helpful to you, please leave a like, please comment, please give some things that are helpful for you setting goals as a manager. Whether you're new or seasoned, let's help each other out. I appreciate you. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.